Welcome to the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, where it is never too early for fantasy football. My name is Jeff.
I'm Alex.
Welcome back, Alex. As always, thank you for downloading, listening, liking, and commenting on our podcast videos. Please join our community by subscribing to us on the socials. Our handle on all platforms is at N2E Fantasy. We are also available on all major podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy. Alex, what do we have on today's show?
On this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, we are recapping all Week 17 action of the NFL and getting you ready for Week 18. But first, we do have some news. Jeff, your favorite wide receiver, decided to get himself into some legal trouble that apparently stemmed from earlier in December, where he's accused of strangling a woman. And it sounds like it happened because the lawyer told the judge that they're working on a monetary solution. So that to me sounds like they're going to pay her off. Criminal charges were filed. So do you think this interferes with playoffs for the Patriots?
This wasn't the only Patriots run-in with the law. I believe some ancillary piece is also having some issues with the domestic violence. But my first thought was this a Buffalo chef potentially accusing him of this? And are they trying to get a leg up for the playoffs?
Well, it stemmed around the Giants game, so I don't know if it's a Giants fan or if it just happened to be around that time period. We don't really know much other than it's a female and he wrapped his arm around and the inside of his elbow is what is alleged.
Yeah, I don't anticipate this to affect him too much. I don't think anyone was. I don't feel like anyone was struck in this, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. He's denying it, but I mean the transcript of his lawyer talking to the judge is out there, so
Absolutely.
well, they
Also,
can cut him after this year, so maybe it'll affect him next offseason.
sadly, he's been a desperately needed leader on this team, so we'll see if that has any impact going forward. But
The only other news I can think of is teams are starting to decide whether or not to rest starters for Week 18. Chargers have already decided to rest Justin Herbert. Are you aware of any other significant restings?
I think the Bills are going to rest against the Jets. I think the Eagles are resting. So, but Herbert makes a lot of sense. I think Jordan Love's resting this week. I think they've already said Clayton Tune is starting. So, also, teams are starting to decide on head coaches and GMs right now. So, we should have a lot more news after this week on that. And there's rumors out there that Cleveland and the Raiders are looking to potentially move on from their head coaches, and they're doing their due diligence right now. So we'll see how true it is with these leaks, but usually where there's smoke, there is fire.
One of them is going to get picked up almost immediately.
I think Stefanski should be picked up immediately.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever had a fair shake, given the fact that he was forced with the Deshaun Watson, multiple first-round picks gone. That didn't work out. It's not his fault. So he was behind the eight ball this entire time. But I can understand ownership wanting to move off of that and get a fresh start as well. So maybe they could trade him somewhere.
Yeah. I think it's funny people are accusing him of sabotaging Sanders. Like, Sanders was a 5th-round pick. All these other teams passed on him multiple times. Cleveland's offensive line is a disaster. Their receiver core is a disaster. And you think he's sabotaging him? I don't know.
No, and I think Sanders is playing pretty well for a first-year rookie that did not get any reps with the ones until halfway through the season. Like, I feel like it's a pretty big deal. I mean, he's won some games for them, and he's kept them in a lot of games that you didn't think they would be in, like with the Bills.
I think the defense and Myles Garrett kept them in those games.
Yeah, absolutely. But he's made some really nice throws. I know he didn't make a great throw to Fannin, that re-injured Fannin's groin on Sunday, but we'll get to that a little bit later.
All right. Well, I guess let's get kick-started with the Christmas games here. So let's get started with the Cowboys at the Commanders. We both went Cowboys. Cowboys did, in fact, beat the Commanders. Jeff, what were your takeaways from this game?
So, yeah, as you mentioned, the Cowboys won 30-23. Dak's hot 2025 continued. He's at 30 touchdowns on the year. And Davis goes over 100 yards with Javonte injured in this game, which I believe helped win me a few dollars this week with Javonte going down. And for the Commanders side, I believe that Josh Johnson played pretty respectably, but obviously it's Dallas's defense. And Krosky Merritt over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in this one. So he finally shows up in the fantasy championship, and I guarantee not very many people were starting him this week. So I think he was like an 8th round pick. People were drafting him as a flex spot. So they put him as a 1-to-1 replacement of Brian Robinson Jr. when he was traded.
I mean, I still like him. I think that they're going to roll with him and Chris Rodriguez next season. Maybe bring someone in the middle rounds. I think it'd be crazy for them to draft Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame, that high. But we'll see. Do you think they regret trading for Deebo Samuel now?
Regret? No, because I don't think they gave up too much for him. I could be wrong on that, but I think the regret is not getting younger and more skillful at that position.
I'm sorry to bring Houston into this. I know you don't want this to be the Houston Texans podcast, but I'm quite loving that the Texans are getting a high second round pick out of the Tunsil trade now. So that'll be nice. And despite your concern about the Texans offensive line and trading away Tunsil, the Commanders are not a good team this year, and the Texans are making the playoffs.
They are, but you would admit, and we'll get to them later, that they're still offensively inept right now.
Offensively challenged is what I would say.
Okay, tomato. All right.
All right.
Anything on this game here?
Nope. I just want to say, speaking of offensively challenged, for whatever reason this week, we have the Lions at the Minnesota Vikings. We both went Lions, and Lions did not look like their high-scoring, powerful offensive selves. They lost 10-23 to the Minnesota Vikings. So, Jeff, I know we were chatting offline, and you have a few things to say about this.
Well, first of all, very poor performance by the Lions with their playoff hopes hanging by a string. And had they won, their playoff hopes would still be hanging by a string because the Packers did end up losing this week, which we'll get to in a little bit. But you and I both picked the Lions in this game, and they lost 23-10. This is not only just a bad offensive performance, they put up 10 points. And not only that, but they did it against Max Brosmer. I don't even know who the heck that is, really. Third quarterback for the Vikings. And the run game was horrendous. 27 carries, 66 yards for the running backs. Goff looks lost right now with the season on the line. I think he had like 5 or 6 turnovers or almost turnovers. But Brosmer was mistake free. And I think that was the difference in this game. And the touchdowns were scored on the ground for the Vikings here with Addison and Aaron Jones getting the scores. So I think this was a poor performance. And I think Dan Campbell, whatever you want to call him, he admitted that this could be their last chance and they might have squandered it. So he does not seem like a hopeful head coach right now.
I just want to say, Max Brosmer only completed 9 passes for 51 passing yards and was sacked 7 times. So he obviously was not the difference here. This was a very defensive battle. I think what put the game away was the 65-yard Jordan Addison rush. And that was the biggest, most explosive play of the entire thing.
Boring game.
And I think that the Vikings played a very good defensive plan against the Lions. I do think Jared Goff is going to be the guy for the next couple years. I know you don't like that, but I'm thinking maybe the offensive line, maybe tight end position has just been suffering for the Lions, and obviously losing your brilliant offensive coordinator is troubling. So I think these things can get fixed, and this is not the draft year to bring in another quarterback, and there's not a veteran that will be available either for trade or free agency that's better than Goff. So it's not going to happen this coming year.
Yeah. He looks lost at times out there right now, and it's scary going forward with him. And I do agree with you that they probably do need to at least keep him for 2026. But there's some scary signs on Goff right now. And where's they don't really have any new injuries. Like, where's that gunslinger approach that Dan Gamble has had all this time? Like, the turnovers by Goff was the difference in this game, and I wholeheartedly believe that, because Brosmer had no turnovers, and that's where I said that he wasn't good, but mistake free, and I think that was the difference. Is one quarterback was mistake free, one had 3, 4, 5 turnovers, and it's really hard to win when you do that to your team.
All right. Let's go to the next one here, the last Christmas matchup, and that was the Broncos at the Chiefs. We both went Broncos. Broncos did, in fact, beat the Chiefs with starting their third string quarterback. So, I mean, if they lost that one, that would be very concerning. It was pretty close, 20-13, regardless. I think it's funny that as disappointing as these matchups ended up being once you saw the injuries and teams that were eliminated from playoffs, they got 4 to 5 times the viewership as the NBA games that went on the same day. So even with bad matchups, NFL is king in American sports.
And you could
So
think
Jeff,
you could thank DraftKings for that.
sure, that's why. It's not just that it's entertaining; it's also all the gambling now. But
I mean, I know a
yeah.
prop bet here or there makes a game a lot more entertaining for me, because I'm rooting for one player to get that one extra catch or not get that one extra catch. But as you said here, the Broncos do hold off the Chiefs. It was a much closer game than probably the Broncos were ready for. The Broncos' run game right now is not great. I don't know what they're going to do with Harvey in the playoffs. Like, I don't feel like that's a great recipe for the playoffs, is having a rookie rusher, someone that could hit a rookie wall anytime now, too. And neither passing game was great in this one. So it's amazing the Broncos were even able to put up 20 points in this one.
Yeah, I think that they were pretty vanilla in this one because they weren't really worried about it as much. But I do have concerns with the Sean Payton offense where they rely way too heavily on short passes and screens. And I think that's a real problem. And that's why they do that in lieu of establishing a better run game. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of screen passes in general, to be honest with you. But
Sprinkled in here and there.
that he's sprinkled in, yes.
Yep.
But relying heavily on them is crazy. So I will point that to them having a vanilla offense on purpose and all the screen passes. But
Yeah, it's wild to
I
do that
do,
against Andy Reid and Spagnola over there.
yeah. I do think Chiefs need to get torn down this offseason and rebuilt because they are not a good team without Patrick Mahomes carrying them. And I'm really concerned about the wide receivers there too. Even if Kelsey retires this year, which he might, I don't trust Rice or Worthy to be top guys. I mean, Rice had his moment where he looked like a top option at wide receiver, but he just hasn't since he came back from both his suspension and injury.
He disappeared. I mean, as simple as that. And their offensive line has disappeared, and I don't think their run game has been nearly as potent as they need it to be. They're running Kareem Hunt most of the time right now, and Pacheco's not great. But they went after Brees Hall at the trade deadline. So if he ended up there, or if they ended up with Algier or Ken Walker or something like that, I mean, it could change the run game pretty dramatically, pretty quickly. So they're going to have to get younger there. Yeah. And Pacheco hasn't been the same since his 2 injuries now. So,
and their guard that they just paid in the offseason, like $25 million per year, has been hurt most of the year. The first round offensive tackle that they took has had a lot of mental issues and has been out, both with the recovering from his knee injury from last season in college to having a mental health checkout out for personal reasons that we don't know about. And he's been okay when he's played, but for the most part, he's been bad and just not playing.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, and their defense, I feel like it's still one of the best in the league. Just they don't have the offense to keep them off the field as much anymore.
We'll see.
We will see. They could retool really quickly, but
I think they should try to trade down. They have a high pick because of their poor season so far. So if they are able to trade down and collect multiple picks, that's their best chance, and trade tackle Chris Jones if they can.
Anything more on this game here?
Nope. Let's go to Jeff's huge mistake here. Let's do it.
All right. The next one here is the Texans at the Chargers. I picked the Chargers. You picked the Texans. The Texans do end up winning a defensive battle 20-16. And I know you're going to look at me weird saying a defensive battle, but other than 2 bombs that came out of the Texans offense, the Chargers only let up 6 points. And Stroud had 2 interceptions after a hot start. He kept the Chargers in the game with some mental mistakes. Texans ground game here was a split between Marks and Jordan. Chubb is an afterthought at this exact moment. I'm not really sure who's the better running back between Marks and Jordan right now. And I think the Texans are starting to try to figure that out before the playoffs as well. But Higgins and Noel are the beneficiaries of the 2 bombs. And Herbert struggled early, but he found his timing late, and it was a little too late. But in the run game for the Chargers wasn't much better, but they're playing one of the better defenses in the league. Johnston was the one bright spot here for the Chargers, and the Chargers here would have had a tie game if Dicker, the kicker, didn't miss a field goal and a extra point. So it was a much closer game than the 20-16.
Yeah. I mean, Herbert had an interception of his own in the end zone. Granted, it was a tip ball off of Gadsden, who Gadsden should have probably caught that, or maybe if it was a hair lower, he would have caught that. But
interception is such a weird stat.
Yeah.
Gadsden had some gaffes in this one that cost them maybe 2 scores.
Yeah, well, one of the Stroud interceptions was bad play calling from the Texans side because they just got a successful run from Marks, and they decided to do a weird pass that had basically no chance of making it. So to me, I think the Texans have the talent. It's just Caley is just struggling to be an efficient offensive coordinator, and there's just game management issues as well. Stroud is, like you said, he's up and down. He's still very talented, but this year has been a little wonky. Granted, it's very different than the first 2 years of his offensive scheme. So awkward there, but Texans defense destroyed the Chargers O-line, just destroyed them. And it's what I've been kind of saying is the Chargers with their tackles healthy are Super Bowl contender. Without them, they've had the most offensive line combinations, I think, out of any team. And it really showed. Part of why Quentin Johnston got his stats and everyone else didn't is speed. That's the only way to try to beat the tight coverage from the Texans' corners. So they were very successful doing that. But big story here with the Texans being able to shut down Amari and Hampton and get him at a 2.1 yard average for his 14 rushes. So Texans kind of bullied them, and it kind of offset the mistakes from Stroud and Nick Caley.
Yeah, it seemed like to me Stroud mostly struggles going to his after his second read. So if he goes to that third read, it's pretty rough.
Yeah. Oh. But luckily for the Texans and the Chargers, the AFC opponents in the playoffs are all beatable. I mean, everyone has their good aspects, but it's anyone's game.
How crazy would it
And
be if Harbaugh won a Super Bowl with that offensive line, though?
God,
You would.
I mean,
He's a Hall
kudos
of
to
Famer
him.
immediately.
Yeah, kudos to him if he can do it with that offensive line. Like,
Yeah.
it's so bad it makes the Texans' offensive line look passable. And honestly, this was one of the best performances from the Texans' offensive line, who were also missing their starting tackles in this game as well. Granted, their starting tackles aren't to the caliber that the Chargers' starting tackles are. But, I mean, even Fisher, who I pretty much gave up on at this point in the season, played very well at left tackle against Khalil Mack and the Chargers pass rush. So Texans are figuring some things out, not everything. I do think Woody Marks and Jawar Jordan are going to be on the Texans next year and be important, but I do think the Texans go after a running back in the draft or off season because I do think if Breece Hall is available, if he's not tagged, they will go after Breece Hall, or they'll take someone in the draft.
We will see. We will see. We're getting close to the off season right now. Getting ready for that. Anything else you'd like to add about the Texans here? They locked up their playoff spot with the win here, and the Chargers lost any hope of getting the division and the 1 seed.
Yeah, the 1 seed was never going to happen for the Chargers. Division did have a chance, but Denver just has a strong position. I mean,
in a weird way, this benefits the Chargers a bit because they do get to rest Herbert a week, and he gets to actually be rested for a week. If we're looking at the positives of them not being able to play for anything on this upcoming Sunday, so they kind of get their bye early.
Texans are in a weird position where there's a very, very tiny chance they can get the 3rd seed away from the Jaguars and win the division. Not likely to happen. Most likely is that they stay at the 5th spot, which means they'll play either the Steelers, which would probably be pretty favorable for the Texans, or the Ravens, which who knows what you're going to get from the Ravens. You're going to get good Lamar, you're going to get bad Lamar, you're going to get powerhouse Ravens, or you're going to get, wildly inconsistent, crumbling Ravens. Who knows? But either game would be at, away at those two teams.
The elements could be involved too.
Whereas the Chargers will probably play Denver again.
No, Denver will be the 1 seed. They'll have a bye.
Okay, so
Patriots.
the Chargers will probably play New England then in Foxborough, which is still a winnable game.
Doesn't scare me at all.
Yeah, so it's still a winnable game.
Yeah. If they had both tackles, they would be a favorite in that game. I would bet you almost anything.
Oh, for sure. I mean, New England's offensive line's banged up too, so it's.
But this has been all season.
I mean, May and Herbert are pretty comparable, so I mean that would be pretty fun.
They both run. They both like to run. But you just brought up the Ravens, and that kind of brings us to our next matchup here. The Ravens at the Packers. We both picked the Packers, and the Ravens won 41-24 on the back of King Henry. Now, if they've learned this formula here where Henry has 36 rushes for 216 yards and 4 touchdowns, I don't see how they can regress back to using him sparingly at this point. Like, this is, you need to use the heck out of him and use him up or go home. And I think that makes them a favorite this week against the Steelers, even in Pittsburgh. But Willis here, Malik Willis, he might be an NFL starter. He was very surprising with 288 passing yards, 60 rushing yards, 3 total touchdowns. And in a game where Josh Jacobs had 4 carries, so their rush game wasn't even working outside of Willis. And Christian Watson continues his hot return. Surprisingly, he's taken a leap forward after that ACL, which is not usual, and kudos to him for doing that. But Malik Willis, I believe, is a free agent after this year, and I think teams that have a borderline starter or a young starter, they should really consider Malik Willis.
It's crazy because his draft class, I think it was the Kenny Pickett draft class too. I thought Malik Willis was the best quarterback prospect in that draft class, and his early career at the Tennessee Titans made me look like an idiot, frankly, because he looked bad with Tennessee. But going to the Packers, learning that system, filling in for Jordan Love when he's been injured over the past couple years, like he has developed, and it goes to show you that you can't just expect immediate success from players. Sometimes it takes years to develop. And he looks great now. Like you said, he could be a starter for a number of teams. He could be the Vegas starter, the Cardinals starter, he could be the Jets starter, the any other team like Miami. People were really pushing him to Miami too. So
You could back
it
up
looks
Bryce
great.
Young and actually push Bryce a bit, give a
Maybe.
viable option. I mean, that's what Carolina's going to have to do this year. Is they're going to have to find someone that pushes Bryce a bit.
Bryce is a weird quarterback because he's had the overwhelming majority of his games less than 200 yards throwing, but he has like the highest number of comeback wins, I think, which is a weird combination to have. Um, but we can talk about Bryce when we get to that matchup. I'm wondering if Tyler Huntley, I know this sounds crazy, is he a better quarterback for the Ravens system than Lamar is? Because it seems like he's doing what they want the offense to do, whereas Lamar plays more off script.
So Lamar would do what Huntley's doing if he was 100%, and I think that's the damaging piece of this entire season, is Lamar hasn't been 100% since like week 3, and they haven't been able to run the offense how they want to run the offense with Lamar. And what blows my mind is that they ran out Cooper Rush in, I think, the Texans game, right?
Yeah, that's so stupid.
Like what am I missing though? Like why was that a good idea? He's a completely different offensive piece than Lamar.
Well, I mean, he had success in Dallas, but he's closer to a Prescott style at this stage in Prescott's career than he is to Lamar. And Huntley should always have been the guy because he knows the system. He's very similar to Lamar. I agree with you 100%. As a Texans fan, I appreciated it because I knew the Texans were going to demolish him. I knew the Texans were going to demolish him. I am mildly worried that the Texans will have to face Lamar and the Ravens, but I'm hoping he's not the same with the collection of injuries that he has.
Yeah, like when he was starting to get back to his self, he slid and got a back injury. Like that was like the first actual Lamar
Yeah.
play since week 3. And he got injured again on that play. So,
What do you
not
make of
funny.
the rumors that Lamar and Harbaugh, there's a lot of tension there, and one of them might go? Like they might have to choose between one.
It's possible. This is what not winning over a period of time does. Is they're probably pointing the fingers at each other behind the scenes. Like something might need to change, and I think you could get high draft capital for both of them. So I don't see that as being a terrible thing for the Ravens changing it up right now.
Could you imagine John Harbaugh going to like the Raiders or something?
Yeah,
Playing his brother twice
I'm
a
not
year?
sure he would want to do that. I'm sure.
Well, yeah.
I'm sure like he would want to go to Arizona and be the Cardinals head coach, and then they could potentially meet in the Super Bowl type deal. I feel like that's what they had set up in San Francisco and Baltimore all those years. And when Herbert opened up for the Chargers job, like I don't think Jim could say no to coaching a good quarterback, like because that's half the battle. Like if you don't have a quarterback, you're probably going to be fired within the first 5 years.
Well, we've seen Michigan kind of crumble without him.
Yep.
Slowly.
We saw the 49ers crumble without him for a bit there.
Yeah.
Did they go right from Harbaugh to Shanahan, or was there a buffer in between? I don't remember.
I think Chip Kelly was in between.
That was Philly.
No, I think wasn't Chip a 49ers coach at some point, or am I
Maybe
crazy?
offensive.
Let's see. Head coach 2016 to 2017 with
Jim
49ers.
Tom Sula was right after Harbaugh, and then he did one season. They hired Chip Kelly in 2016 for one season. I don't even remember that season, to be very honest.
I don't either, but I remember seeing it and thinking Chip Kelly was there.
So after Harbaugh, they did Jim Tom Sula for one season, Chip Kelly for one season, and then Kyle Shanahan permanently after that. So they had a bit of a dip after Harbaugh left there too. Like that's not good to have 2 one-year coaches after a guy that was continuously making the playoffs.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a weird firing, but I don't think him and the coach and GM got along. He's got a
How did they have Jim Tomsula before and after Harbaugh?
I don't know.
That's crazy.
They're not the smartest. They're not the smartest right now. But I don't even remember Chip Kelly having a year outside of Philly because he was so bad after that like hot start in Philly that he's so forgettable. But he went 2-14 with the 49ers, and Tom Sula went 5-11. So they went from a 44-19 coach to 5-11 to 2-4. Like they kept downgrading until Shanahan came along. Even Shanahan doesn't have the win percent. He's still 100 points below where Harbaugh was winning. I really think that there was a rift between management and Harbaugh.
Yeah.
And that's what undid it. And he does have a unique personality, but looks like Tom Sula was an interim coach before Harbaugh, and he must have stayed on the staff with him for after. But Harbaugh is other than George Seifert, has the highest winning percentage of any 49ers head coach.
Yeah, he's a good head coach, and I think, man, if they get some depth at the offensive line, so they're not completely wrecked when 2 of them are out, maybe retool the defense a little bit. But
he is good. But he's still winning with the Chargers, even with what he has. So this is not the team that he thought he would have. He thought he would have Hampton all year. He thought he would have Harris all year at running back, and then the 2 tackles. And he had different plans for this team this year.
Harris the Pirate is probably done right now. Like I can't imagine.
Potentially. I mean, I could see him be a backup somewhere. We're on teams like the Chargers that went through 5 running backs this year with Haskins and Vidal being injured as well. So it's not out of the realm of possibility to see his name pop back up.
That's true. But anyway, these backup quarterbacks played well. Baltimore has a chance to make the playoffs by beating Pittsburgh next week. And we get to talk about that matchup.
Absolutely. All right, we got the Cardinals at the Bengals up next. You and I both picked the Bengals. Bengals make quick, easy work of the Cardinals 37-14. That does continue to make Michael Wilson relevant, but Marvin Harrison Jr. leaves this game with another injury, and he's due to miss week 18 as well. So this was a very injury-riddled year for Marvin Harrison Jr. with multiple injuries. I think a concussion, a heel. Like, he is hitting every body part. Trey McBride does set the tight end reception record. He's probably the best tight end right now. Maybe by the end, he could be the best tight end in NFL history. Not out of the realm of possibility right now.
Receiving tight end.
That's all that matters right now. We talk about fantasy football. I don't get points for blocking. Um,
Well, I was just gonna say, like a lot of receiving tight ends are get their snaps limited because they don't block, but he is so good they still keep him out there,
he's a
even though
glorified
he's not a
slot
good blocker.
receiver.
Yeah.
But Burrow, Brown, and Chase all get 2 touchdowns in this one. So the fantasy studs do eat in this one. But I think the Cardinals have a big decision after this year with Wilson and Harrison. Like, I don't think both make sense. And one's got to go.
Yeah. I almost it's tough because you sell one high and one low, or do you keep the guy that's performing now and cut your losses on the expensive other guy?
Yeah, I'm not really sure how much of a culture guy Harrison is, and that's kind of my biggest concern with him. But I mean, obviously Wilson's a head down guy, and you never hear anything about him.
Yeah, I almost think Harrison needs to go to a team that has an established quarterback.
Hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. Anything else on this one? There's 2 eliminated teams there.
No, but I did have a buddy that asked me if I would trade CD Lamb for Harrison Jr. And I was like, how could you possibly do that trade right now? I mean, I know CD had a down year, but Harrison Jr. has not lived up to his potential, is not the same caliber as CD, and you don't even know if he's going to get traded or where he'd be traded to, right?
Right. You're not wrong, but if he ended up with Josh Allen, who would you rather have?
Oh God, I would rather have Harrison Jr. because he might be the perfect type wide receiver to go with Josh Allen because Josh Allen likes to sling it deep.
Something's happening there this year. I just have this feeling, and we'll get to a receiver that actually stepped up for the Bills this week when we get to the Bills game. Anything more on this one before we hop over to your other
Nope,
division foes? All right,
that's it.
Jaguars at Colts. We both picked the Jags. The Jags get by the Colts and maintain the AFC South lead 23-17. Another big game by Parker Washington, 8 catches, 115 yards. Not much to say here on the Colts front, but this was Philip Rivers' last start as he has retired again, and they'll be turning it over to Riley Leonard for the last week. And not really much to say on the Jags here. It feels like they regressed a bit after playing the Broncos, and were only the 4th team to get a win after playing the Broncos this week. So pretty beat up. And anything to add to this one, Alex?
Well, even though I picked the Jaguars, I really wanted the Colts to win. And there was a moment in this game where it seemed like that could happen, and I was jumping up and down, thrilled. But eventually the Colts did the Colts thing and lost to the Jaguars at the end here. But man, did they get it close until the fourth quarter. What do
Just
you
keep it
make of
close.
Parker Washington? I was in on Parker Washington before most people were, I think. Are
Before it
you?
was cool.
Yes, before it was cool, Jeff. Do you see him as a fixture next year too, or do you think he disappears with Travis Hunter coming back?
um, I think he's a fixture now, but next year is a contract year for him, so there's a lot up in the air when it comes to that. But I think he's established himself as a go-to for Trevor Lawrence, and I think any movement off of that might be damaging with the progress that they made this year. I think Myers and him are the top 2 receivers, and that kind of leaves Brian Thomas Jr. As a question mark. And I know you don't like when I say that, but they might be able to recruit picks for him on an injury-riddled season because I think he came in with a pretty significant injury.
I I think Parker Washington and Myers overlap so much with Travis Hunter and they have a desperate need at defensive back that Travis Hunter is going to be primarily defensive back next year and mix in and kind of take some pressure off or give breathers to Myers or Washington in certain plays next year. I would imagine they find a way to make Brian Thomas Jr. work because he is the only wide receiver on this roster that's his type, a vertical guy, athletic, fast. Everyone else is more of a slot guy. I mean, even Strange, the tight end, is more of a slot type guy. I don't think that they should trade him, but if they did, it's another guy for the Bills to target potentially. Another one of those deep threats that would be pretty nice to go with Josh Allen.
Absolutely. The Colts do snap the Jaguars' 26-point streak with only stopping them at 23. So now it's a 23-point streak.
Yep.
All right. Anything else on this one? R.I.P. Philip Rivers' career.
R.I.P. Philip Rivers' career this year, and I will give Liam Cohen some credit. They really schemed against the defense in this one. They did some clever tricks, but with bunch formation that they saw flaws in how the Colts defense has been and how they blitz on bunch formation, and they wrecked them in this. They took full advantage of them. So that was pretty interesting to see, especially when it was broken down.
I think he's a pretty good coach. I mean, if you can pull that kind of stuff off, I think you're a pretty good coach. But Rivers now a Hall of Famer, because I don't know how you could tell the history of the NFL without this comeback now.
He's got a lot of stats.
Yep.
I still don't know if I could call him a Hall of Famer, even with the huge amount of stats.
Right. My threshold is, do we need to bring up your name in the story of the NFL? And I think we need to bring up Grandpa, first Grandpa ever playing in the NFL.
Is Ryan Leaf a Hall of Fame person? Is Jamarcus Russell a Hall of Fame person? Or, I
don't think you need to talk about them in the history of the NFL, though. You could just skip over those years.
What about David Tyree? I mean, he wasn't that good of a wide receiver, but everyone knows the catch.
Yep.
So
I do know the catch. And I think that's why Eli is ultimately a Hall of Famer, even though I'm not sure he has the stats that River does.
No, but he has 2 Super Bowl rings, so he will get in before Rivers does.
Yeah. It would have been interesting if their two careers swapped based on where they were really drafted. And
Man, the Hall of Fame, I mean, I think his reset another 5 years, I think, by playing.
It's probably a good thing with how many people right now are waiting.
Oh, and you saw the list. I mean, they can take like a maximum of like 8 guys, and they might have to this year just to clear it out because some of these are too good to just linger.
Oh. I know a lot of people don't feel great about Luke Kuechly because his career was short, but when he played at a Hall of Fame level each and every year that he played. And man, I can't. If concussions didn't get in his way, I can't imagine the career that he would have had.
Yeah, I do think that there are like 3 good receivers on this one. Drew Brees is on this one. Eli Manning's on this one. There's like 3 amazing offensive linemen that deserve credit. Some defensive players out there too. So
Brady's got to be getting close, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, he played
2 or 3 years.
Probably 3, I would guess.
But he's a first ballot, and I would want to clear out the quarterbacks before he came in because I would want because Peyton's first. There's Peyton Manning already in. Is Peyton Manning already a Hall of Famer?
Yes, he already has his jacket. And Peyton's the first person to say this when people criticize young quarterbacks and want to move on real fast. He didn't win a playoff game until year 6. So he's like, cut these guys some slack. He set the rookie interception record and didn't really win anything until year 6. And a lot of these guys are on their 2nd, 3rd year.
What ruins it is that 5th year rookie option, and you have to make decisions kind of quickly on a quarterback, and it ruins it faster.
You can tag him twice. So you already have 7 years to figure out if the quarterback's the guy.
Yeah, but I don't really want to tag Bryce Young twice. Like, paying him and paying other people around him less doesn't feel good to me. Like So, and that's where you get into that conundrum, but you also now get Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold on two different teams, and they're playing for less than what the maximum quarterback contract is on multiple year deals. And that's like a steal for them.
There are also former Panthers that look better on other teams than they did at the time of the Panthers.
Yeah, the Panthers, though, that were always their second team, they were already confidence beat down, and they weren't in a spot where Carolina could build them back up because Carolina didn't have their coaching down.
Yeah.
But now I believe they do, but we'll get to them in a little bit. Let's get through the last few games here. Next up is the Patriots at the Jets. We both picked the Patriots. Patriots make quick work out of the Jets 42-10. He throws for 5 touchdowns and 2 incompletions. He was pulled in the third quarter. And Henderson returns to the lineup with 19 carries, 82 yards. Stevenson gets the 2 touchdowns, though, 1 receiving, 1 rushing. Breece Hall does break a big one to save his day, scores a touchdown on that one. And the Jets need to take a good long look in the mirror if this is going to be what their effort looks like this season. And Aaron Glenn should be on thin ice. And I've said this for weeks now, and he's fired defensive coordinators, and they gave up 42 points in through 3 quarters.
Well, they traded away their best 2 defensive players, so I can't imagine them being good, even if he did everything right. But I didn't like him as a coaching hire. I don't think you liked him as a coaching hire. Didn't make any sense for them. Jets didn't really address anything important this last offseason. So this was predictably a bad year. So we'll see if they can fix it in the offseason. I doubt it because I think it's going to be all the same people.
But I don't know how they even start to fix it. Their defense is weak. Their offense is weak. Breece Hall is a free agent. Like, how do you even start to fix it? Like, the bleeding it's coming from so many areas right now.
I think you sell Wilson and you might be able to get someone to take on Justin Fields as a highly paid backup.
Take some of his salary.
He doesn't have much guaranteed left, so I don't think anyone's going to have an issue with him. But
yeah, they might be able to restructure him down because he's getting paid 20 next year, even though half of it's guaranteed.
And you just have to use all your draft picks and start retooling the roster. That's all you can do.
Yeah, I don't even know how they do this. Like, I don't even know where to start. Like, if you trade away Wilson and bring in a rookie quarterback, like, who is the rookie quarterback throwing to? Like, Aaron Glenn's in a no-win spot.
A.D. Mitchell is who they're going to be throwing to. A.D. Mitchell and John Mechie.
Mechie's a free agent after this year, though, right?
Yeah, they can probably re-sign him for cheap for another year.
Right. They have Mason Taylor, and I kind of like him, but they definitely need to lock down a quarterback, someone that I don't want Malik Willis to go there because I feel like that would kill Malik Willis's career.
I don't think Malik Willis would go there.
Yeah. Imagine John Harbaugh and Malik Willis in Arizona.
Dude, that'd be crazy.
Because that's a very Lamar type quarterback. If he could bring Greg Roman with him, like, you could retool this really quickly.
Well,
with
Jim
Michael
would have
Wilson.
to let Greg Roman go.
Yeah, so you don't think you would bring him to Arizona with him? Typically, when a head coach is fired, their whole staff is fired too. Or wait, no, Greg Roman's part of Jim. Gotcha.
Yes, he's on the Chargers.
Who is the Baltimore offensive coordinator right now?
Monken.
Okay, he'd probably bring him, but I could see him keeping a lot of his same coaching staff if they were fired with him. Just recreate it. And I think Arizona's defense is underrated. They may need a few more pieces, but I think they're closer than people think. And I think their offense is pretty good. They could use another running back, as we've mentioned before, with Trey Benson. And the quarterback position, if you bring in Malik Willis, like you are cooking quickly.
Yeah, if you do that and you spend their first round pick on a pass rusher or offensive lineman, They're a really good team.
And he might be able to get some free agents from Baltimore if he does this, because they might like Harbaugh. And you might be able to get some veterans that are like, yeah, I'll come with you to Arizona, play in the warm for a bit.
Yeah. I mean, go from one bird team to another bird team. That'd be pretty funny. But
it would. I think it's possible at this point. Not ruling it likely, but a lot more likely than it was a few weeks ago.
yeah, I can see Arizona as a team that's a quick turnaround team with the right coach.
And quarterback combo. Yep. I could see that in a heartbeat. And they might be able to get something for Murray. Like, there might be a team like the Raiders that are desperate. And
So, you think Brissett is the Jets quarterback next year?
he could be, but he's old at this point. Like, you're
He
putting.
looked much better in Arizona than he ever looked trying to start New England.
He has a lot more weapons though in Arizona with McBride and Wilson and Harrison than he would in the
I
Jets.
guess, yeah.
But also, like, I feel like it's putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. like bottom out if you're gonna bottom out.
Yeah.
Don't put a semi-reasonable quarterback back there that you get a middling pick instead of a overall first. All right. Anything more on this one?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Let's hop over to the Saints at the Titans. We both picked the Saints. The Saints continue the hot streak and hold off the improved Titans team 34-26. Estime was able to run against a tough run defense, which was kind of interesting. The Shuck Olave Juwan Johnson connection is real, and it should be for 2026. Olave does have a clot in his lung, and he will be out for week 18. So that's good news for the Carolina Panthers, and we'll get to why a little bit later. But Ward here shows signs of progression with 251 yards and 2 touchdowns. And DK and Eilmanner seem to be progressing with him as well. I did pose last week a question about Eilmanner and DK and if they are a 1-2 combo or more like a 2-3 combo and they actually need to go find a one receiver still.
I think that could be true. I mean, I still like Imanor. But I can see getting a more dominant wide receiver as well. But part of it's they might just need to improve their offensive line. Maybe a better head coach that has more offensive tendencies, and these guys might shine more. It's hard to tell. I do think Tony Pollard's getting up in age, so they might be looking at a younger running back because I don't know if Spears can stay healthy to be a guy like that.
Absolutely. And I think Ward's showing signs of progression, though. 251 and 2 touchdowns against a pretty decent defense. Anything more on this one? We got 2 eliminated teams here.
I mean, Tyler Shock played really, really well as well. So both of these look like 2 of the top rookies. I liked Shock, I like Ward, and I liked Jackson Dart as well. Those are 3 of the quarterbacks I really liked in this draft class, and they're finally showing out when healthy.
Absolutely. All right, Steelers at the Browns are our next matchup here. We both picked the Steelers. Unfortunately, the Browns upset the Steelers 13-6. Rodgers does virtually nothing as he plays scared of Myles Garrett. Does not want his name next to Brett Favre again. And Sanders does throw 2 picks, but also has a touchdown and more yards than Rodgers. And this sets up a Week 18 matchup for the AFC North between the Steelers and the Ravens. I will say the Vikings here, if they did bring in Aaron Rodgers this year, they may very well have been a playoff team or in contention for a playoff spot. I think they're going to end up falling a half game out of a playoff spot. And funny enough, he could have done the full Favre and could have been successful.
Well, I think there's a non-zero chance now that he does go to Minnesota next offseason.
Oh, you heard it here first, folks.
Well, he's a free agent after this year. It doesn't sound like he wants to retire. And I think with how the season unfolded for Minnesota, I think there's a very good chance that they go after Aaron Rodgers as a 1-year fill-in and they go full Brett Favre.
That makes sense to me, but we had a Pittsburgh stop in the middle.
Well, instead of the Jets. Well, I guess it's you did go to Jets, Pittsburgh. Mm,
Yep.
it's so crazy.
Yep, absolutely. He just wanted to do one Pittsburgh stop, but I'm not positive that Aaron Rodgers retires after this year. I know that's the plan, but we will see. Week 18, the last game of the regular season, is the Steelers hosting the Ravens, and I cannot wait to hear what your picks are for that one. Coming up, thanks to the Browns, we actually get this scenario. All right, you ready to move on to the last several games here?
Yep, let's power through them.
All right, Seahawks at the Panthers. We both picked the Seahawks. The Seahawks won 27-10 in a defensive battle. Charbonnet greatly outperforms Ken Walker in this one and should be a top 3 round pick for fantasy redraft leagues next year. He will be for me. And Walker's on his way out the door. So unless they bring in a different running back that can compete with Charbonnet, he's perfect for this offense. And he did it against the Panthers defense, and the Panthers virtually do nothing at home against the Seahawks. So kind of sad, but here we are.
Yeah, I expected pretty much nothing else in this matchup. Unfortunately, I do think Panthers are getting better overall, but I mean, a lot of these teams in the NFC South are going to be very competitive next year. Very competitive.
I think the leg up we have is the coaching right now. I'm not sure that Tampa or Atlanta have the best coach for them. And I think that's a leg up. I do like I'm still not completely sold on Kellen Moore, but he showed some things this year that have been impressive, but I can't get out of my head the year that he was offensive coordinator for Dallas, and that was the year that the offense regressed. And I'm like, ooh, this makes no sense considering he's a offensive genius. But yeah, the Panthers could have wrapped up the division because the Buccaneers at the Dolphins, we both picked the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers were upset by the Dolphins 20-17. So these two games tied together very closely. I was watching them both very closely, and because the Bucs lost, and if the Panthers won this one, they could have sewn up the division in Week 17. But because they didn't, the next week's matchup will be for the South unless Atlanta wins. So we'll get to those scenarios a little bit later. Anything on the Panthers game before I finish on the Bucs and the Dolphins here? All right, we can hop over to the rest of the Buccaneers Dolphins, and Mayfield was better but not good enough in this one. Jalen McMillan leads the way for Tampa Bay in receiving, which is interesting considering they have Abuka and Evans and Godwin, but Godwin also gets over 100 yards in this one. And Quinn Ewers does just enough to win his first start. And there is probably some momentum here to doing Ewers and McDaniel for a season and seeing how that works out. But what were your takeaways here with the Bucs and the Dolphins?
To your previous point about Tampa not having the best coaching this year anymore, one of the biggest ways to tell the difference between a Liam Cohen coach team and not a Liam Cohen coach team is he makes the running game much better for whatever team he's coaching for. And Tampa has collapsed a little bit on their run game this season without him, whereas the Jaguars look much better with their run game compared to previous years. So it's just very disappointing that Miami, of all teams, could shut down the run game for Tampa. But
they're still playing hard.
I think they're trying to save their coach's job.
It says something to me, but I know you're not a big McDaniel fan, but I feel like they're going to get really close to finishing 8-9 because I'm not sure the Patriots play their starters this upcoming week, so we will see.
I think the Patriots still beat them, to be honest with you, but
we will see. Anything else on Quinn Ewers?
He was okay. I know McDaniels really liked him the season before he drafted him, and I know he regressed his last year in college, but he seems to be the style quarterback that McDaniels is comfortable with, and he's a seventh round pick, so it doesn't really cost anything to move on from him if it doesn't work out either.
Agreed. All right, let's hop over to the number one pick bowl here, and that's the Giants at the Raiders. You picked the Raiders, I picked the Giants. Raiders lose the game as they had planned, 34-10. Jackson Dart here has a better showing, so it's less clear what direction the Giants will go with their top 5 pick. Wan'Dale Robinson has another big game and a pretty big overall 2025. I believe he went over 1,000 yards in this game. So I know he's not one of your favorites, but he did have a pretty good season this year. And it'll be interesting to see the connection with him and Neighbors and Dart going forward with Scadaboo returning. But Geno might be done for 2025 with an ankle injury, I believe. And I don't believe he'll be starting week 18. And he may not be starting beyond this, too. So this might be the end of Geno as a starter in the NFL. Ashton Jeanty, 60 yards on 16 carries. Not great. And the Raiders should start O'Connell over Pickett in the last week, and that's just my opinion, and I'm going to stick to it.
I'll just say, for my actual pick'em, I did choose the Giants.
Oh, you must have switched it.
So
I'll
no,
switch it on here. I'll give you that.
in our CBS Pick'em League, I picked the Giants. You're not supposed to be able to see it until the games actually start, and you can't switch once the games start.
I know.
But
I'm the commish.
Are you spying on my picks?
Just last week, because I had to pull an audible on a solo host. Otherwise, I don't even want to know what your picks are.
I did have them until, news started coming out that they were basically sitting Crosby and Bowers, and I'm like, I am not starting this team that sat their 2 best players. No.
Yep. It would be poetic justice if they dropped the last week to the Chiefs or beat the last week at the Chiefs. It would be poetic justice.
Yeah, there's we thought this year for quarterbacks was going to be better than what it was, and then middle of the season it looked like they're still going to be okay candidates, and now it's just one guy,
maybe
really, and he's not even a top tier candidate. So a lot of these quarterback needy teams are not going to get a quarterback.
Well, the way they were talking about him the last few days, they were calling him surgical, so we'll see.
I mean, I like Mendoza, but I don't think he'll ever be a top 10 quarterback in the league. I don't think he has that upside.
Well, the Raiders better hope, but the Giants still have a shot at the pick here because they play the Chiefs that are playing their third string quarterback the last week of the year. So a lot could still happen here. All right, enough on that game because that game is irrelevant except for everything in the draft. But the next game here was the Eagles at the Bills. I picked the Bills, you picked the Eagles, and the Eagles pulled off a Bills 2-point attempt and win 13-12. And Hurts here goes back to throwing just over 100 yards passing. Allen does come alive late with 2 rushing touchdowns. And the surprise here for this one was Brandon Cooks. He emerged as a go-to option for Josh Allen and just in time for the playoffs. He may have just enough gas in the tank to do a 4-game playoff stretch. Are you interested in that connection at all? He made some good catches too. So I know he's a senior citizen in the league, but
I mean, he had a 50-yard long reception.
I think that's the one he caught going to the ground, though, if I'm not mistaken.
He's a vet, and he might help, but I don't feel confident about it, and I don't feel great about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why the Bills went for 2 instead of just kicking the extra point and trying to go into overtime.
I mean, in all likelihood, it could have been the same situation in overtime where Philly scores and then you have the ball and you have to go for 2 anyways. So I feel like they were just
But
trying to get Josh Allen off the field quicker.
But this was a game where Jalen Carter actually played for the Eagles, and he dominated the Bills' offensive line. And Josh Allen was sacked 5 times in this game. He's getting sacked quite a lot of late.
Yep. And Carter is back hurt with a hip injury, so we'll see if that impacts his playoff availability after shoulder surgery earlier this season.
We'll see, but this is Josh Allen's most sacked year, and it's not over yet.
Yep. And some of that's because he's playing hero ball, and some of that is because of the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not working right now. So they're going to have to make some changes. And I think that's where that go-to wide receiver comes into play. But I'm not sure who it is or where it comes from. But I think they're going to turn over a whole bunch of rocks this year to see what they got.
What's weird is his efficiency in some regards is up, but his yardage is down, and he's not getting enough passing yards a game, and his touchdowns are down too.
That is pretty interesting.
And he's still the number one quarterback in fantasy this year. It's the craziest thing.
Yep. And he did just enough in fantasy this week for me to win a championship, and just little enough for me to win third place in a league. So he fit right. He threaded the needle for me to win 2 pots of money.
Third year in a row, he has double-digit touchdowns on the ground.
It's important.
He has 79 rushing touchdowns as a quarterback. That is ridiculous.
He's good, and he's great in fantasy. Right. Anything more on this matchup here? Both are headed to the playoffs right now, so they'll both play in the first weekend.
No, that's it. Just Nana Boo Boo. I was right. I picked the Eagles.
You're right. You got me on a few games this week. All of them, if you picked the Giants. So you kicked my butt. And the next matchup here, 2 teams that are also going to the playoffs, the Bears and the 49ers. And in this matchup, we both picked the 49ers, and the 49ers outlast the Bears in a shootout 42-38. Burden and Loveland have their coming out parties in this particular game, and I don't anticipate them going away after this game. I think Komet is a thing of the past. And Purdy is playing some of the best football of his career right now, so kudos to him for the improvement, especially after the contract. I didn't know he had this in him. But CMC pretty much has locked up the comeback player of the year after another stellar performance. He did have his back worked on in this one, so he is a little stiff from all the hits that he's taking, but he is continuing to play. And because the 49ers won this game, they have a shot at the number 1 seed at home versus Seattle in Week 18. I did call San Francisco my number 1 seed early on, so my prophecy could happen here.
Yeah, I might be the only division leader that you called.
You got to bring that up now, don't you?
Well, you were so confident. Week 2, you're like, after 1 week, I already know it's gonna be these guys.
Well, it worked in my favor when I called Tampa, so the reverse jinx.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's kind of interesting that there are, at least 3 division leads up for grabs this coming week.
Yeah, I don't hate it at all. I actually prefer it that way. I prefer things to be on the line in Week 18. Obviously, I'm a very big into the Panthers and Buccaneers game, and I'm also very big into the Saints and Falcons game for reasons that we will dive into very shortly. Anything more on this Bears 49ers game? It was a crazy game.
Crazy game, but so was the next one.
Yeah, it was the Rams at the Falcons. Different kind of crazy. The Falcons pretty much led this entire game, and they win the 3rd straight in a close one, 27-24. Stafford had a very up and down night with 3 interceptions and 2 touchdowns. Kyron Williams, I don't believe, got enough carries in this one at 13 carries for 92 yards. I feel like that warranted more touches, but that wasn't to be. Kirk Cousins here was in a game manager role and was very effective. The MVP honors here go to Bijan Robinson with 195 yards on the ground and 34 through the air. 2 total touchdowns, and Pitts and London actually disappeared completely in this game. So if you started them in a championship game or a game for some money bags here, you're highly disappointed in their performance.
Yeah, I was shocked that Falcons started 21-0 first half.
Mm-hmm.
Rams came roaring back, almost tied it up, but Stafford, too many turnovers, man, trying to win that MVP. And really, to me, this is a game that kind of knocked him down a peg. And I want to see how the games go and see if Stafford continues to fall apart or if he gets back on track and maybe wins the division.
He can't really win the division. That is pretty much locked between Seattle and San Francisco.
Well, then take the MVP away. He threw the division away.
Well, we'll see. We will see. But he's still in my MVP, and he's pretty far ahead of Drake May right now. All right. So we are done with Week 17. Anything else to put a bow on Week 17?
No, that's it for me.
All right, let's hop over to our Week 18 primer, and we get kicked off with the biggest game of the week for me, and it's the Panthers at the Buccaneers. It's a Saturday game. There's 2 Saturday games this week, and this is potentially for the NFC South, but not so fast. If Atlanta wins, Carolina is the division winner due to a 3-way tie and the common opponent's tiebreaker. And Alex, who are you taking in this one, the Panthers or the Buccaneers?
I am taking the Buccaneers in this one.
You just told me the other day that the Panthers are playing better than the Buccaneers.
I can't get over the fact that the Buccaneers are the better team roster-wise. At some point, it has to show through. It's like the Panthers are playing hard with a much worse roster.
Yep, and it's not even fully Canellis' roster yet, so I have some hope there. But yeah, and I'm going to go the Panthers in this game because I literally cannot go the Buccaneers in this matchup. So, but we're up next here with the Seahawks at the 49ers, and the number 1 seed and the NFC West is on the line on this one, 8:30 on Saturday. And I am going to go the home team in this one, and the 49ers pull off my prophecy. Who are you taking, Alex?
I am going the 49ers as well, but I do think it will be a very close one. It might be the game of the week.
Yep, and I think the 49ers are playing some of their best ball right now, and I think Kittle has a shot to play. All right, we have the Browns at the Bengals up next. Nothing at all on the line in this matchup. Who are you taking, Alex?
I'm going to take the Bengals.
Give me the Bengals as well. I do believe in their offense over the Browns' defense, but Joe Burrow could be the history sack waiting to happen with that offensive line.
I think that's likely. Even with them winning, I think he gets sacked.
Yep. This could be a 3-sack performance by Garrett as well, and he could be very high. All right. We have the Cowboys at the Giants next here. I'm going to go the Cowboys because I do believe in their offense better than the Giants right now. But Alex, who are you taking?
I'm definitely going the Cowboys as well. They're playing all their guys, and they sent a message by cutting Trayvon Diggs as well. So I'm going the Cowboys. They're just a much better team than the Giants are right now.
All right, you are up now with the Packers playing their backups against the Vikings. Who are you taking in this one?
Well, I initially was going to take the Packers, but now I'm taking the Vikings.
Well, Love's
feel like
not
that's the
playing. Willis isn't playing. They're playing Clayton Tune in this matchup.
former U of H guy
Yep.
who was with the Cardinals previously, but I don't think I'm not sure he knows the playbook well enough to be good.
No, and I mean we got 2 third-string quarterbacks probably playing in this game, and yeah, and I think Minnesota's only goal in this game is to get Justin Jefferson over 1,000 yards, so he's going to be peppered with targets in this one. But I should note here that the Vikings are 8-8, and they have a shot to finish at a 9-8 record. Which, I mean, given what JJ McCarthy has been this year, like that's a pretty good thing for O'Connell. They would
Yeah,
finish a
I was
half
looking at
game
that
behind
as
the Packers.
I was looking at that as well, Mike. That is pretty insane.
Yeah, you would have never guessed that. I would have never. So if they
Yeah,
had if they had Sam Darnold this year, they probably have 10, 11 wins and they're in the playoffs. So that was the difference this year. That's a bad GM move, in my opinion, but we'll see what happens going forward. Next matchup here is the Colts at the Texans. And I believe the Texans will play the starters in this one, and I'm going to go the Texans. Who are you taking?
I'm definitely taking the Texans as well.
Now, this is a game where they could pull their starters halfway through if the Jaguars get out to a big enough lead. So that is something to watch out in this matchup.
That's true.
Brings me to the Saints at the Falcons. As I mentioned earlier, if the Falcons win this matchup, the Panthers are automatically the division winner. There is no Chris Olave in this matchup. Alex, who are you taking?
I'm going the Falcons in this one.
Division. I'm going the Falcons as well. I need to double up on my hope for this division.
Yeah, but it's with Olave in, I would have gone the Saints. With Olave out, I think Bijan's the biggest difference maker for the Falcons.
Yeah, and I think Kirk Cousins is just serviceable enough right now to keep it moving forward. I think he had like 140 yards on Monday night, but you were
I just
talking
think
about
it would have been crazy if the Panthers were 8-9, Bucks were 8-9, Saints were 7-10, Falcons were 7-10. Like how narrowly close that would be.
Falcons could be 8-9 as well, though. It could be a
Yep.
three-way tie. That's what makes the common opponent tiebreaker come into play. And that loss to the Dolphins was big by the
Oh yeah.
Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was possible too because I knew the Dolphins were playing harder. I just didn't want to bet on Quinn Ewers, to be honest, on his first win. But it worked. They won.
Yep.
All right. This is your big matchup here. The Titans at the Jaguars. I'm gonna go the Jaguars because I believe that they're gonna play very hard. They're 2 weeks off of the Broncos, and I don't think the Titans have the power to match them right now.
You don't think they have the power?
The power.
I mean, I think the Titans have a chance to upset, but it's very small. So I'm going the Jaguars, and I'll just, hope that I'm wrong. Sorry.
I know you got to maintain a pick'em lead this week too, and it's not a good place to be the last week of the season, being one up because it's a lot of thought process that goes into it. Could
It's
the
so
other person
crazy
possibly be picking?
because I was up big for at least half of the year, and then I was down to like fourth, and now I'm back up to first. So I got to be as razor edge as I can be.
As straight edge as you can be. All right. So Jaguars would lock up the AFC South with a win, and it would relegate the Texans to a wild card spot. And we'll see how long each of those teams play their starters based on how the other teams are playing. So there's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching in the last week per usual. Next matchup here begins the 4 o'clock matchups. I think all games start at 4:25 this week. It's the Cardinals at the Rams. Alex, who are you taking in this one?
Don't think I heard about the Rams resting anyone.
No, they're playing
So
everyone.
so I'm going the Rams. Kind of
Me
hard
too.
to pick the Cardinals. Yeah.
Me too, and I do think the Rams probably play like quarters or somewhere through the third quarter, bench their starters. But I think that McVay wants to see some sign of life before he lets them sit. All right. So we got the Lions at the Bears up next here, and this could have been for the Lions to get into the postseason, but because they lost this week, their season is over. And I am going to go I'm going to go the Lions in this matchup. I feel like they're going to play very hard for Campbell the last week.
I'm going Bears.
Okay. I just don't know if Ben Johnson can beat I don't know if a student can beat the teacher.
Well, it's in Chicago, and I think Goff struggles at the outdoor games in Chicago. So
You're probably right. But I don't know. We'll see. We will see. All right, we got another matchup here in the Chiefs at the Raiders. A Raiders loss here would lock up the first overall pick for the draft. And I think Juju is very bad for the Raiders right now, what they're doing. So I'm going to give the Raiders a win in this matchup. And I bet you anything the Chiefs ensure that it happens.
I'm going the Chiefs.
I bet you anything Andy Reid makes it happen because he doesn't want a team in his division to pick first.
This is not a very scary year to have them pick first. So I think Kansas City is going to win this game.
Mendoza has to be better than Geno, though.
Not necessarily. I mean, I think he is, but that doesn't mean that he will be.
I think my grandma would be better than Geno this year, though.
I mean, honestly, without a change in coaching staff, I'm not sure anyone's going to be better.
He's been cycling through it, so you're talking about the top dog. You were all gung-ho about him going into this year, too. You're like, the Raiders, they got it together. Their offensive line, they have a good running back. And they fell flat on their face.
Well, I mean, Pete Carroll's son has turned out to not be a very good offensive line coach, and Chip Kelly cannot coach at the pro level. So those were bust hires, and I don't know how the defense got to be so bad, especially since that's Pete's side of the ball.
Yep. All right. We have the Chargers at the Broncos next. No Justin Herbert. Him and other starters will not play, so Trey Lance will get the start. Broncos would lock up the 1 seed in the AFC with a win. And for that reason, I have to go the Broncos, but I am very interested to see what Trey Lance does here in this spot start.
We're going the Broncos as well.
Are you interested in see what Trey Lance can do in a game like this?
I don't think it'll be good, but if he does look good, then I would be very interested.
Exactly. So there's some storyline there, but Broncos should almost definitely win that matchup. If the Broncos pull far enough ahead, I could see the Patriots benching their starters in this next matchup. It's the Dolphins at the Patriots. Alex, who are you taking in that one?
I'm going the Patriots.
I am also going the Patriots. But if the Dolphins do win, they finish 8-9 on the season. And I know that you would have thought that was impossible before the season because you were like, they're terrible.
I'm not wrong. I mean,
yeah, but they're not Raiders terrible. They're just they're what an average team looks like in the NFL, and that's not good either. You don't want to be average.
The spread is 10.5 points in favor of the Patriots, and I think I would bet against the spread. I think I would bet the under on that. So if you're betting for the spread, I'd pick the Dolphins, but straight up pick them. I'm picking Patriots.
Yeah, I could see it being a 6-7 point victory. 6-7.
Might even be a 3-point victory, to be honest.
Yeah. Also, the Patriots might not even care about the game if the Broncos get a 28-0 lead over. Like, they might be like, all right, we're done. We're packing it in.
Yep.
All right. So that brings us to the final two, or no, we have 3 matchups. We have the Buffalo Bills hosting the Jets in closing Highmark Stadium. And I'm going to go with the Bills in this matchup. I don't anticipate Josh Allen to play, but I think Mitch Trubisky's enough to beat the Jets at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going Bills as well.
We're at the point now that Mitch Trubisky is a favorite against the Jets. So just
I don't
want to.
know which. I don't know whether the Jets or the Raiders are the worst run, or the Browns are the worst run organization.
Well, you also have the Giants because Dart's the energy around that team's not the same as it was when Dart took over with Dable. Like that energy has been kind of sucked out of the room there.
Yeah, Dart and Dable were a good combination. And if
Yeah.
Neighbors was healthy, would Dable have ever gotten fired? That's the question.
No, and they felt like a fraternity. I told you they felt like a frat house. Like they were running it like a frat house, and that's gone now. That's just gone, and it's sad.
I think the Jets should hire Dable, and I think they should trade for Dart. That's what I think.
That would be a start, but they'd probably have to give first and third for Dart.
No, I
Cheap
think they could give the
contract.
fourth. I bet you they could give the fourth overall pick because it would still be a gain because they use a low first to draft him.
It's true. We will see what happens, but there's still a non-zero chance that the Giants get the number 1 overall pick because the Chiefs are playing their third string, and Kelsey I expect to be very heavily targeted in that Chiefs game. All right, last two matchups of the year: the Commanders at the Eagles. So this will round up our 425 games, and Tanner McKee is starting this game, and I would love to know if you believe that that'll be enough Tanner McKee against the Commanders.
I like Tanner McKee, and the Commanders' defense is pretty garbage, so I'm going Eagles in this one.
Tanner McKee might become a starter after this game, like not for the Eagles, but elsewhere. Like he may have a market after this. Also, I need to say it blows my mind that their third string quarterback is Sam Howell. And I picture like Sam Howell throwing to Justin Jefferson on the Vikings this year. Like, how much different would have that been for Justin Jefferson's year? How much different would have that been for the Vikings season? It's just wild that he's a third string quarterback when I very much picture a Ryan Fitzpatrick type with him, like gunslinger.
Well, it's wild that we talked about Lamar Jackson and Cooper Rush and the difference between them because Jalen Hurts is closer to the Lamar style, and both of the backups are pocket quarterbacks. So, does that signal that the Eagles are getting unsure about Jalen Hurts and might be looking to switch it up at some point if he continues to falter?
Yeah, I don't think that that they will keep him around much longer. I also don't think he's a starter in the league, to be honest. Jalen Hurts, he just doesn't perform like that without tush push operating at its full peak. I don't trust him passing. I don't know about you.
It's very hard to.
Yep.
Like two years ago, maybe, but I mean now.
We are down to a win and in game for the AFC North. This will be on NBC Sunday night, the final game of the regular season. It's the Ravens at the Steelers, and Lamar looks to be all systems go, and I believe Henry will be the star of this game, and I don't think the Steelers defense can stop Henry, and so give me the Ravens in this matchup.
I think without DK Metcalf, the Steelers' offense, at least the passing side, is pretty hapless. And I'm not sure if TJ Watt is even back yet from his collapsed lung. Young. So, I mean, the best two players are out. Ravens, if they actually hand the ball to Derrick Henry, will probably win this game in the AFC North. So I am going the Ravens as well.
We
What a
thinking
time
30
for
carries?
what a time for DK Metcalf to punch a Lions fan. Like, dude, you just cost your team the playoffs, most likely.
Yep. What about that fan holding a press conference too? So you
Yeah,
can't tell me that fan's not.
that's how you know the fan's a scumbag. But as a player, you just can't rise to the bait. Like, why would you walk all the distance to him to grab him and try to hit him.
It's the best story ever, though.
Yeah, a fan wanted to get DK ejected, but DK didn't get ejected. He got suspended for 2 games after that. I think it would have been a 1 game suspension if he was ejected. They never ejected him. And now he's missing the last 2 weeks, and we saw against the Browns how bad they were without him. So it's gonna be rough. So I agree. I think the Ravens will win this, and our poor Steeler friends will be quite upset. And maybe it'll get Tomlin fired. Who knows?
Well, I mean, that does it for week 18. Next week, we will do a season recap of sorts of some of our predictions. Also recap week 18 with a slant towards 2026. So I want to talk about some 2026 goals or stats, or where we're going to take people, or where we see the teams going. And then also we'll start breaking down the super wild card weekend, which will be 6 games, and hopefully the Panthers will be in it. So hopefully I'll have a stake in it.
Hopefully, a lot of fun stuff will happen. Hopefully, the Panthers win the division, which they have probably a 55-60% chance of doing that because the Falcons can help them. Hopefully, the Texans somehow win their division. Maybe. I don't know. And hopefully, the Steelers. Hopefully, the Steelers win, prove us wrong, because I'd much rather face the Steelers than the Ravens with a healthy Lamar Jackson.
I'm thinking all of the things on Derrick Henry that I can bet the over on right now. Carries, yards, touchdowns. Like, what can I bet the over on him on?
I almost want the Texans to lose so that we play the Jaguars rather than play the Ravens.
So the Bills would move up and play the Ravens? Is that?
Yeah. It's Allen versus Jackson.
Allen Jackson?
Yep, there you go.
In Baltimore.
No, it's gonna be fun. They actually have games that mean something, which is nice.
I mean, I would rather not have Lamar in the playoffs for the Bills' purpose this year, but I don't think that's going to happen now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Texans have proven that they can beat up on the Bills and the Chargers.
Yeah.
The Ravens, we can only beat them if Cooper Rush starts for them.
Yep. And it looks like the Broncos are going to get the first round bye, but I do think the Broncos will be very beatable in round 2. But I think whoever beats them probably goes home in round 3 because of the stat that most teams lose the week after playing the Broncos.
So, how we think the AFC will probably shake out based off of who we picked. It's probably the Texans versus the AFC North winner. So, Steelers or Ravens. And then Bills versus Jaguars and Chargers versus the Patriots. So that's going to be very interesting.
I think Charger-Patriots is a very close game. I'm not sure about Cohen versus McDermott in Cohen's first playoff game, because playoff is very different than regular season, and he hasn't really had to do that.
Yeah. I think the Texans have a better chance of making it past the first round than the Jaguars, and the Jaguars are going to win the division most likely.
So many crazy things could happen, though, this week. So this is the week where you rest starters, and if someone's dinged up a little bit, you say, all right, sit down for the day, and changes a lot of things. I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited.
All right. Well, that does it for this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all for downloading and listening to this episode, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please leave us a comment and share the show. Every little bit helps.
You can find us on all podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy, and with our handle at N2E Fantasy on all social media platforms. Please join our community and give us a follow. Until next time, take care of yourselves, and remember, it's truly never too early for fantasy football. Thank you again.
Bye, everybody.